Hey guys, happy Friday. Welcome to another Appreciate workshop. And I have a funny story about today's topic because you might be like, what? Emotions versus objectivity? Where in the world did Cassandra get that? Well, it's interesting because I actually pulled a tarot card this morning for what I should talk about for this workshop because I've been so in deep with this Clarity Now course that I've been creating. And so, when I zero in on a subject like that and I'm really like thinking about it and thinking about all the different like facets of it, it's hard for me sometimes to switch and think of a completely different subject. But I was like, I don't need to do the Appreciate workshop on clarity because I've already did a video on clarity and this course is going to be very, very thorough. And if you guys are interested in it, for sure, sign up. It's free. It's going to be 7 days worth of really great content that are going to help you find clarity in any area of your life. And so you can, I'm sure, on my social and my newsletter, you'll find a way to, I'll send an email out to all the Appreciate ladies about that. But so I wasn't looking to talk about clarity. And I was like, let me just pull a card, ask my guides, see what needs to come up. And I got this card. So I have this deck. It's called Mystic Mondays. I really like it for any of you guys who like cards, right? It's really cool. Anyway, so I've had it for about a year now. I've never pulled this card before. And this is the Justice card. And what the Justice card comes in to remind us of is objectivity. So it pretty much tells us, like, let's really weigh things out here. Let's look at it with some sober, clear eyes. And it brings up that subject of emotions versus objectivity. So for instance, let me give like a really exaggerated, silly example. Your boyfriend said he was going to get lemons from the store and he forgot to get lemons. He comes home and he doesn't have the lemons. And you get really let's say you get really upset. You feel like he doesn't care about you. He doesn't love you. He's not thinking of you. You're not important to him. Your needs aren't important to him. You kind of let it become this whole big thing. You guys get into a fight and you're like, I just don't know. Like, I need space, right? Over lemons here, right? And now that might seem dramatic, but how many things in our lives have we actually blown up in that way, right? Where it was like a little thing. Maybe it was like, one client asked for a refund on a $25 program and all of a sudden you're in the spiral of my whole business is going down the drain, right? And so what happens is in this moment, what the Justice card is asking us to really focus on, which I think is just really interesting because that clarity is kind of like the topic of the moment right now. And this was honestly a facet about clarity that I wasn't fully looking at before, where in specific situations, oftentimes we're battling between our emotions and our objectivity. So what happens is we are feeling beings, right? And, we learn a lot, of course, about law of attraction, and we learn about how we should listen to our body, obviously. And what happens is sometimes we feel like we need to listen to our emotions. And the truth is, yes, we do need to listen to our emotions, but not in the way you're thinking. Because when we listen to our emotions in a situation like that, when they're going to panic town, we make decisions from a place of fear, right? We're making that decision from a place of fear. We're taking action from a place of fear because our emotions, they are communicating to us, but they're not, but the message that we're interpreting is wrong, okay? So follow me on this. So let's use that lemon example again. So you feel this flood of emotions because you forgot the lemons. And you're like, oh my God, he doesn't love me. He doesn't care about me. He's not thinking about me. He's inconsiderate, all these little things. So all of a sudden, there's like this big waterfall that happened from that emotion. So he forget the lemon. The first emotion that hits is disappointment. The second emotion that hits is hurt, right? Then maybe there's some anger, right? There's all these emotions that are coming up, right? That are actually calling you to reflect on that and ask yourself, oh, okay, do I not feel good enough? Do I not feel worthy of someone that's taking care of me and paying attention to me? Is it perhaps not just that he they forgot the lemons? Is there a bigger thing going on in our dynamic that is coming up because of this lemon situation? So definitely it's not to disregard your emotions, or it also is that am I so insecure that one false misstep from him makes me think that everything is going to crumble. Same thing with that example of the $25 refund that sends you into financial panic. Am I so insecure in my financial abundance? Am I so insecure in my lovability? Am I so insecure in my worthiness, right? That these emotions are coming up from a relatively small stone throw, right? So it's the boulder's really not coming up, but I'm reacting like it was a boulder coming at me, when in reality somebody threw a pebble. And it's really our emotions are trying to guide us to do the deeper healing work. So I don't want you to misinterpret that I'm saying listening to your emotions are bad here. I think there is a process. So to gain clarity on any issue, right? We do want to look at our emotions. We do want to say, okay, well, this happened, right? But we need to look at what happened with objectivity and then see our emotional reaction to it. And then through the weighing, literally the scales of justice, through the weighing of the two, that's where we're able to decide what the next step, the clarity of what action is. So for instance, going back to the lemon example, right? The way I like to think about it is thinking about it like a movie script. If you think about whatever action happened in your life, whatever situation happened, whatever it was, like a movie, right? The clear script with actions, right? And what does that movie script look like because, in movie scripts, if you guys have ever seen it, there's usually not a lot of subtext, right? Every once in a while, they'll be he's hiding something, right? But usually you have the location, you have the lines that each person is saying, you have the actions that are happening. And then the actors and the director, they come together and they bring in the subtext based on the character, right? So if you think about that in your life, and you're okay, so he played his part. He walked in the door. He communicated that he forgot the lemons and apologized. I said my thing, or I was well, that's a bummer because I wanted to make you X, Y, and Z tonight. Now I can't. He communicated, well, I'll just go back out for the lemons. I communicated, well, I don't want you to go, right? So you actually write it out. Is a good technique if you struggle with this, and which I used to do. Write out the literal script of what happened. So-and-so walked in. This was said. I said this. This was done. I said this. He said that, right? That's what happened. The subtext that we add to that is not objectively what happened, right? So if you're well, he was being inconsiderate, that's not in the movie script. The movie script is that he came in and he told you he forgot the lemons, right? Nowhere in that objective look at the actions of what happened and what was said does it say he was inconsiderate. That is the meaning that you're attaching to it through your emotionality, right? And so to be able to catch ourselves in this concept, which is so great. I haven't thought about it for years, but this changed the game on my relationship life, especially because I realized that I created so much of my actions in relationships based on my emotions instead of the objectivity of what was actually going on. And once again, when we're in those situations where we're triggered and someone needs to reschedule, or someone forgets something, or they don't pick up the phone because they're out, or whatever it is, right? It'll be this little action that happens, and then we attach a boulder of emotion to it, and we decide that we're making it mean whatever it means. Now, I'm not saying that we don't know. The truth is that if we're objectively looking at the movie script, We don't know if this guy is inconsiderate or if he genuinely forgot the lemons. We don't know. The jury's out. But if we can look at it from that perspective and say, okay, based on this one incident and what happened back and forth, we should assume that he just forgot the lemons and it was an accident, right? And then you say, okay, so this is what happened. He forgot the lemons. Is it the end of the world? No. Okay, so let's move on with life or whatever for a moment there, and then maybe reflect upon our emotional reaction. Well, when he forgot the lemons, here's what came up for me. It came up for me that I feel like he's inconsiderate. It came up for me that I feel like he doesn't care. It came up for me that, maybe he doesn't think I'm worth taking care of, right? And we get clear on what came up for us. And then that's where we do the self-reflection. And so the clarity that we get from these moments is we get to, one, not only see there's so much peace and relief in being able to see the movie script and be able to look objectively of what is actually going on here. What is actually going on here? What were the things that happened? What are the things that didn't happen? And can I look at just the facts? Can I peel back the emotions, put them to the side, know that I'm going to reflect on them. I'm going to do some deep diving in there and see what's coming up for me, and can I look at this bare bones for what it is? And then, like I said, then you can go back and you can check out what was coming up for you and you can ask yourself, okay, came up for me that he's inconsiderate. Is there any other evidence, right? If we're going kind of in that justice theme, is there any other evidence of his inconsideration? Well, maybe I'm like, these past 5 times he forgot this, right? And then you can you're getting a much clearer view of what's going on. Or perhaps you're like, actually, no, he's usually pretty good. I guess just this one time, I'm feeling really sensitive. And you're like, okay, is there something that's going on in me that needed him to bring the lemons for some sort of affirmation, right? And that's when we can really get clarity, true clarity about what's going on in a situation. It's kind of like that age-old joke that when someone gets in a fight about someone leaving their socks on the floor, that it's never about the socks, right? Because what happens is oftentimes we hold and we hold and we hold, and then a very harmless, huge incident sets off this cascade that brings us into these emotions, right? And if we don't actually separate that, okay, well, it's not about the sock on the floor is whatever, pick it up, put it in the laundry basket. Let me reflect on why I felt like burning the house down because the sock was on the floor, right? And what's coming up for me. And again, that is how we find the clarity. We run ourselves into a dead end when we get upset about the sock or the lemons. We run ourselves into a dead end when we freak out over the $25 refund. Instead of being able to handle whatever the task is at hand objectively, and then take a look at our emotions and see what gold we can find. And I think this is especially important for women because it doesn't come as naturally to us. I feel like they're much more interwoven. Men just biologically have an easier time separating their emotions from the objectivity of what's going on. And it's an excellent skill for peace of mind. The other thing that I wanted to talk about in reference to this is, I'm just it's completely escaping me right now. I just had the thought and I was like, let's just finish this and then I'll get back to it. Give me a moment. Clarity. Okay, I don't know. Maybe it'll come back to me. But we're going to talk about it in reference to other things. So, for instance, maybe you're looking for, you want to make a decision on what you want to do. You want to know, here's a big one, right? Leaving your job. So you're looking for clarity on a big life decision, and let's see, how can you bring that same concept into that kind of decision-making process? So emotions, once again, are going to give us a lot of information, oftentimes, especially when we're really ready to make that. Oh, you know what? Let's come back to this. I just want to give a real life example that literally happened this week to me. So I'm going on vacation and I have half of my stay planned because I'm meeting up with friends there. And the first half of my stay, I just booked early. I was going to go, so I'm going to go by myself and figure it out. And I am, and I was trying to figure out which hotel I should stay in. And it just so happens that this island that I'm going to has a really interesting cross section of hotels. They're very like high and low. So it's either you stay at like a very fancy hotel or you stay at like a not fancy at all hotel. And there's no like medium ground, which is where I would probably usually stay at like a pretty nice hotel, but not like at the most expensive hotel. Anyway, so a lot of emotion was coming up for me around this decision because part of me was like, well, I feel like if I stay at the cheap hotel, that makes me like feel like I don't care about myself enough, or maybe it's gonna ruin my vacation that I'm not at a nice hotel. And then the other thing, if I stay at the really expensive hotel, then I'm gonna know like how much month's rent I'm spending on just this hotel, and that might stress me out. And so my emotionality around it was completely blocking me from being able to make a decision. And I think a lot of this happens to a lot of people. So, you get into a situation and you have all of these feelings about it, right? And so you end up getting paralyzed to make the maneuver because of all the feelings that are coming up. So again, with the justice card comes in and asks us, and I actually found this, I settled on this myself earlier this week, was realizing, okay, let's strip away all of the feelings and just look objectively at the situation, right? And oftentimes this is what we need for the clarity we truly desire. And so as simply as looking at my finances, actually looking at the hotels that I would, choose from, picking the best from the lowest, and then maybe like something that was somewhat affordable from the most expensive, looking at their amenities, looking at the different stuff, like really getting down to the black and white facts about it. Okay, well, this one I'm going to get a sauna. This one's going to have a hot tub. This one's going to have this. This one's going to have a nicer room. This one, like actually looking at the black and white facts and taking out the emotions of it and really being able to make an educated decision from a place of objectivity. Right? Because the emotion of fear could have had me make a choice for a hotel that wouldn't have made me happy or feel good on vacation, right? And then similarly, the other emotion of fear could have me not fully enjoying the nice hotel that I was paying for, right? And so when you're really able to get that clarity, when I was really able to look at it and say, okay, you know what? I'm on vacation. There are certain things that are important to me to have in a hotel. And, I actually, when I look at my finances, it's really not that big of a deal for me to be paying this much money for a hotel. It's completely okay. I'm usually very savvy when it comes to, how I spend my money on travel and stuff like that. So it's okay. Sometimes you end up in a place where you splurge a little bit, and like, that's why I have the savings and the money and whatnot that I do, is so that I can do that. And it's okay. But when I took the emotion out of all of it, it was very easy and it was very peaceful and it could become really clear. And so similarly, when you think about making those big decisions in your life, when you think about, should I move? Should I move to this place? Should I, get that new job? Should I take things to the next level with my partner? Should I adopt a dog? Should I buy a car? Whatever it is, right? When we have these more big life decisions, it is so good to come in with this approach of emotions and objectivity. When we really look at it and we isolate the emotions and the actual truth facts of the situation, right? And it's not that we're discrediting the emotions. There's some stuff to look at there, right? Like I was like, oh, wow, I noticed there were some things for me to journal on. There were some things for me to meditate about, right? Those emotions were revealing things that wanted to come up for me to pay attention to, that actually, even though I've been making quite a good amount of money for a while, I haven't been as comfortable living at my means, and being able to splurge on things like that, right? And I was like, oh, wow, that's a good exercise for me. So now spending and staying at a really nice hotel is actually a beautiful exercise in enjoying the money that I've worked hard to make, And again, being in that space of, okay, let's say you're wanting to quit your 9 to 5 and start another job, or move to another place in the country, or whatever it is. You want to make this leap, and you want to look at all the emotions that are coming up around it, like almost like what do you call when you take what is my brain today? When you skim the cream off the top, right? So you want to skim all the cream off the top. You want to skim the emotions off the top of it, plop that on the side. You'll take a look at that. We're not ignoring that. But then looking objectively at it. Okay, well, I'm making X amount of money at this job. I spend X amount of hours there right now. Here are some other factors, right? You could say, it's a fact that I've gained 15 pounds since I worked at this job. It's a fact that I've started going to acupuncture every week because of stress, because of this job. It's, maybe it's a fact that I felt less inspired to work out or whatever, right? So you can look at the real facts, like the real solid facts of what's really going on. What are the things that if you were literally in court, someone could, so if you can say, well, no, this job makes me so unhappy. Well, what is that? That's a little gray area in court, right? But maybe you say, okay, well, since I've had to start seeing my therapist twice a week since I started this job. Okay, that's now a measurable fact. Right? I've gained 15 pounds. That could be a measurable fact, right? And just saying, like, I don't feel, and it's not, again, we're not discrediting it. But then we look at those emotions on the side and we can look like, well, I don't feel happy. I'm not happy at this job. I don't feel fulfilled. I feel like I need something different. We can for sure factor that into the equation later. But right now, I just want to look at the facts. Okay, well, the facts is it looks like I'm not thriving based on this evidence at this job, and let's look at this other situation. Okay, well, I have X amount in savings. I already built a website for this business. I've already started getting some of my clients. I'm working out on the weekends, right? I've created X amount of income so far. I could last on my savings 6 months, or whatever, right? And we look at those facts. And then from that place of objectivity, we can truly see how much of a risk it is. And I think that's the biggest thing. I end up working with a lot of women who take the leap from working at a 9 to 5 to working for themselves, or are in that stage of working for themselves and trying to take it to the next level where they feel like they're more financially abundant. And there are so many times where our emotion clouds our judgment. Our emotion comes in and can make us anxious. It can sabotage us in the way. Instead of realizing, like, for instance, in that case scenario, if she decides to leave her job because she looks objectively at it and she's like, well, I have 6 months runway. I'm already making so-and-so from this new project. I already have all the infrastructure up, and I've only been working 4 hours a week on it. So if I was able to work 40 hours a week on it, I can imagine that I could increase that income quite fast. Then you can actually be at peace making that move. Doesn't have to be an anxiety attack of a move. It doesn't have to be something that you wake up in fear of where your next paycheck is coming, right? Because if you could ground yourself in the objectivity of the facts of what is true for you, then now you have that real runway of a start where you're level-headed, you're clear, and you're able to take the next right action because you're not letting your emotions or your fears sabotage you. So I know this was kind of an interesting topic. I'm super interested to see how you guys, what if it's helpful for you guys, what kind of stands out for you guys. I really feel like being that it's the first time that I've really picked a card for that, I'm sure that there is somebody that's watching this if not multiple of you that really needed to hear this specific message based on something that's going on in your life right now. And I think it's a really, really important thing for all of us, because if you're watching this, you are a super sensitive person. You do feel a lot of things, and that is important for us. And it is showing us where we need to heal. It is showing us where perhaps what areas of us need more love. It's showing us sometimes intuitively what the step is. But when we can ground ourselves in the objectivity and actually weigh these both sides, we can see the objectivity, we can, reflect on our emotions and what's coming up for us. On that way, that's when we really get to make really powerful decisions that we feel really good about, we have a lot of clarity on, and then we can move forward from a place of peace and relief and not worry or anxiety or nervousness, right? So I hope that you enjoyed this, and if you are in the midst of something right now that you are seeking greater clarity for, you want more clarity on what the next step is, where you're going, if you should make this decision, I highly recommend you checking out my Clarity Now course. It's going to disseminate into everybody's inboxes on Sunday, but you can sign up right now. You can check out the link in my Instagram bio or my Facebook. And like I said, I will try to send an email to all of you guys from Appreciate, so you have that there too. But I hope you enjoy that as well. And I hope that this provided some value for you and you heard something you needed to hear today. So have a great weekend. Bye, loves.